A new restaurant has opened in a nearby village. The moment you walk through the door, you are greeted by a warm and inviting ambience. The soft lighting, simple decor, and comforting aromas instantly put you at ease. The friendly staff welcomes you with genuine smiles and guides you to a cozy table. As you pursue the menu filled with a variety of enticing options, your anticipation builds. You place your order, and soon the first dish arrives at your table. The presentation is a feast for the eyes. As you take your first bite, the explosion of flavors dances across your taste buds, awakening your senses in a delightful symphony. The exceptional service enhances the experience, with attentive staff catering to your every need. The first-hand experience of this village restaurant becomes etched in your memory. In the days that follow, you find yourself reminiscing about the exceptional experience you had at the restaurant. You eagerly recommended it to friends and family, sharing the joy and satisfaction you felt. When you visited the village restaurant for the first time, your initial experience sets the tone for your future impressions. The ambience, service, and quality of food create a lasting impact on how you perceive and remember the restaurant. Your first encounter becomes the foundation for your expectations and preferences. Hello everyone, today we are going to learn some of the secondary laws derived from the experiments conducted by E.L. Thorndike. If you haven't seen our previous videos about behaviorism and Thorndike's primary laws, please go through them. I am Blasan Varghese, a junior research fellow at Mahatma Gandhi University, Kerala, and welcome to my channel, Mindscape. Number 1. The Law of Primacy. According to Thorndike's Law of Primacy, the first response made in a given situation tends to be the most strongly associated with that situation. This principle suggests that the initial response or behavior exhibited in a particular context leaves a lasting impression and becomes strongly linked to that specific situation. In the context of the restaurant experience, the law of primacy suggests that our first encounter with the restaurant, which encompasses elements like the ambience, service, and food quality, plays a crucial role in shaping our overall perception and future decisions related to that particular restaurant. If our first experience is positive and memorable, it sets a high standard that subsequent experiences are compared against. On the other hand, if our initial encounter with the restaurant is negative, such as encountering poor service, a disappointing ambience, or subpar food quality, it can significantly impact our perception. We may be less inclined to revisit that restaurant in the future and may not recommend it to others. Let us see an example. John is a job applicant who goes for an interview. During the interview, the first question asked by the interviewer is about his previous work experience, to which John provides an impressive answer. The rest of the interview goes well, but interviewer's initial positive impression of John's experience influences their overall perception of his qualification, even if subsequent answers were not as strong. Ultimately, John's response to the first question, due to the law of primacy, plays a significant role in shaping the interviewer's opinion of him. Remember, first impression is the best impression. Number 2. The law of recency. The law of recency is a psychological principle that states that the most recent information we receive has a stronger impact on our memory and perception than earlier information. This means that when we are presented with a series of stimuli, the last stimuli we encounter is often the most memorable and influential in shaping our overall perception. Or in other words, the last impression made or the most recent information encountered tends to have a greater impact on our overall judgment and recall. For example, when studying a list of items, people are more likely to remember and recall the items at the end of the list more accurately than those encountered earlier. Similarly, in communication and persuasion, the final arguments or statements made are more likely to be remembered and have a stronger influence on the audience. Number 3. Law of intensity. The law of intensity of stimulus is a psychological principle that states that the strength or intensity of a stimulus affects the likelihood and strength of the response it elicits. This means that a stronger or more intense stimulus is more likely to elicit a response than a weaker or less intense stimulus. The law of intensity of stimulus is related to the concept of threshold, which is the minimum level of intensity required for a stimulus to be detected by an organism. Once the threshold is reached, increasing the intensity of the stimulus can lead to an increase in the response. However, it is important to note that there are limits to the law of intensity of stimulus. If a stimulus is too intense, it can be overwhelming and lead to a decrease in response known as sensory adaptation. Sensory adaptation is a reduction in sensitivity to a sensory stimulus after constant exposure to it. Additionally, the context and individual difference can also affect how a stimulus is perceived and responded to. Imagine you are studying in a library. The environment is quiet with minimal distractions. As you focus on your studies, someone nearby suddenly slams a book shut, creating a loud and startling noise. In response to the intense stimulus of the loud noise, your attention is immediately diverted. Your heart rate may increase and you may experience a startled reflex. This example demonstrates how the intensity of a stimulus can have a significant impact on your attention and physiological response. The sudden and loud noise grabs your attention due to its high intensity, temporarily interrupting your cognitive processes. The law of intensity of stimulus suggests that more intense stimuli are more likely to capture attention and trigger a stronger response compared to less intense stimuli. Number 4. Law of multiple response. The law of multiple response is a psychological principle that states that the stronger a stimulus, the greater the number of possible responses it can evoke. This means that when a stimulus is intense or strong, it can elicit a variety of responses from an organism rather than a single specific response. Through a process of trial and error, the organism learns which responses are effective in achieving the desired outcome. The successful responses are then more likely to be repeated in similar situations, while unsuccessful responses are less likely to be repeated. Let's consider a situation where a person is faced with a threat, such as encountering a wild animal while hiking. The intense stimulus of the perceived danger can evoke multiple responses. Some individuals may choose to confront the animal directly, attempting to scare it away or defend themselves. Others may opt to run away from the animal to seek safety. Certain individuals might instinctively freeze or stay still, hoping that the animal will lose interest or pass by. Some people may call out for assistance from others nearby or make loud noises to intimidate the animal. Others may utilize tools or objects to deter or scare off the animal. In this example, the intense stimulus of perceived threat leads to a variety of possible responses, each representing a different strategy or instinctive reaction to the situation. The law of multiple response recognizes that individuals can exhibit diverse behaviors in response to strong stimuli. Number 5. Law of set attitude. The law of set attitude is a psychological principle that states that a person's attitude towards a specific object or situation can strongly influence their behavior and actions towards that object or situation. This means that if someone has a set attitude towards something, their behavior towards it is likely to be consistent with that attitude. For example, if someone has a positive attitude towards exercising, they are more likely to engage in physical activity regularly, while someone with a negative attitude towards exercising may be less likely to do so. Similarly, if someone has a positive attitude towards a particular brand of product, they are more likely to purchase that product over others. Number 6. Law of analogy. The law of analogy is a psychological principle that states that people tend to understand and learn new information by relating it to previously learned information and experiences. This means that when someone is presented with a new information, they attempt to make sense of it by comparing and assimilating it to what they already know. And finally, law of associative shifting. The law of associative shifting states that when a response is conditioned to a specific stimulus, it can also be elicited by similar stimuli that share common features with the original stimulus. It refers to the tendency for a conditioned response to occur not only to the original stimulus but also to similar stimuli. Imagine a person who has a strong negative emotional response to the sound of a car alarm due to a past experience. Whenever they hear a car alarm, they feel anxious and stressed. Over time, this negative emotional response may shift or generalize to other similar sounds associated with potential danger or alarm. For example, the person may start to experience the same feeling of anxiety and stress when they hear loud sirens such as ambulance or police siren, or even similar high-pitched alarm sounds from electronic devices. In this example, the person's emotional response of anxiety and stress has shifted or generalized from the original stimulus to other similar stimuli. This demonstrates how a learned emotional response can be transferred or shifted to different stimuli that share common features or characteristics. In this video, we explore the auxiliary laws that contribute to our understanding of human learning, memory, behavior, and cognition. We discussed the primacy and recency effects, which highlight the importance of the first and the last information presented in influencing memory recall. The concept of intensity demonstrated how the strength or magnitude of a stimulus can impact our responses. Understanding multiple responses emphasized the diverse range of possible reactions individuals may have to a given stimulus. We delve into the role of attitudes and how they shape our perceptions and decision-making process. The use of analogy was explored as a powerful tool for simplifying complex concepts and adding in understanding. Finally, we discussed associative shifting, which involves the transfer or generalization of learned responses from one stimulus to similar stimuli. By grasping these auxiliary laws, we can gain valuable insights into human behavior and create more effective learning experiences. Thank you for watching this video on the auxiliary laws. I hope you found this information insightful and valuable. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to share them below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with others who may find it helpful. Thank you again for your support, and I look forward to bring you more informative content in the future. Take care. Bye.